YouTube fans, here again, and I thought I'd talk about a dud film. I'm getting a little bit tired now doing the Wooded Hour films, but I'm still going to be doing the Wooded Hour films. Instead, I'm going to be doing a classic, because when I was talking about Red Block, the film with Wooded Hour, I mentioned this film. I mentioned it. That being Papillon. That's right, Papillon. From 1973, this is a damn dud film. It is a damn dud film. Now, before the DVD, before the Blu-ray, before all the technology we have now, I actually got this. I actually got this on a video. You know, the days when we had video cassettes. And it was a very long film. It's a very long film. So I'm not lying, it is a long film. But I never got bored of it. Never got bored. I felt a little bit near the end was sort of dragging a little bit, but I never got bored. Because there was always something in it, you know what I mean? And when you think about it, Chief Machine, may rest, is bladding brilliant in this. He is bladding brilliant. Dustin Hoffman, another damn good actor. The way they two hit it off together is brilliant. It's just brilliant. And it's one of them now. I watched the film, and you know what? It's sad in one way. It's sad because you'll never see a film like this again. If they remade this film, you'll get pretty boy actors. Can't act to save dignity, and I love doing it. I've not done it for a very long time. Not hurt me bloody knuckles. Pieces of bloody wood actors. They're just there because they look pretty. This, on the other hand, is a competent film, and it's got very dud actors. I say it again, dud actors. I know that Papillon was based on a book. It was based on a novel. And it was a true story. That's right, it was a true story. And behind the scenes, the DVD, I've now got it on DVD. The DVD just saw an original biography and behind the scenes when they were making the film with, I think, the real Papillon. Now, the real Papillon had a different name. And I think it could have been Fence, having history of Fence. And in real life, he couldn't speak a word of bloody English. I'm not trying to say this for laughs this time. He could not speak a word of English. Imagine now, it's sad to say, he's no longer with us. But Chief Machine, playing that role, is brilliant. He's brilliant. And it pissed me off that this man, that being Papillon, being Chief Machine, I should say, never won an award for this. He never won any awards whatsoever. And I think he should have done. Because this shows me what a damn good actor Chief Machine was. Now, yeah. I've heard bad rumours about Chief Machine in real life, right? Whether it's true, whether it's made up, it's a different story. But, nevertheless, as an actor, not as a person, as an actor, he's just brilliant. It's not like the thinking blob with actors made out of this. When the only two best things about the blob was the blob and Chief Machine. They were the only two good actors in it. But in this, it starts off, it's based on the olden times, and you've got the idea they're in prison. And they're on a ship. I'm not making this up, they're on a ship. It's just half an hour on the ship. And they go to this prison on an island. Now, this is the days before you had human rights, before you had freaking weightlifting rooms. This is a proper prison. And you think, it's not bad, it's on a beautiful island, but this really don't show you that the island isn't as beautiful as it looks. I could say it's a long film, and it's more like a prison and a state film, because in the film, right, you get Dustin Hoffman. And he was well known for ripping people off. You know what I mean? He ripped a lot of people off. With Ford and all that. Chief Machine, with his character, that being Papillon, was accused of murder. Now, whether it's true or not, there's a lot of rumours that he was supposed to be innocent. But nevertheless, whether he's innocent or not, the person who was accused of killing was a pimp. It mentions it in the film. He was accused of killing a pimp. And I'm thinking to myself, so if he did it, he was just a shit. Because the guy he killed was a scumbag. He was a fucking pimp. You know, someone that lifts off money off prostitutes and beats them up. So, it's not exactly a loss. Not like an achieved with murder. But again, it's mentioned that he was innocent. Whether that's true or not on the real Papillon is a different story. But you sort of feel sorry for the character. Alright, I don't achieve with murder if he did it. But again, the guy was a scumbag who he killed. Because he tries to escape, right? And he gets caught. And they put him in this sort of like no solidity. And at first, he's fine and everything, but because he broke the rule, because someone was giving him, what was it, pineapples, I think it's pineapples, no, coconuts, sorry. They find out about him nicking these coconuts, someone's been giving it him. You've got an idea, it's his mate. and they punish him by putting him in the dark. Now imagine it's hot. This is on a bleeding iron day, and he's melting with the sun. And you do get to see him hallucinating, because in the film he had two mates when he was on the ship, but you get the idea. Well, we see one of them get shot in the head, and you get the idea the other one died. So he sees all these weird hallucinations, and you sort of feel sorry for the character, but he doesn't talk. So eventually they let him out. He really is weird. There's a bit in it where there's this old man and they do the teeth and they put the heads under like that. And you can see this old man looks like shit. And he says, how do I look? And Papillon says, you look good. Well, then the day after, you got the idea the old man died. Because really what Chief Machine's character, being Papillon, should have said was, no, you look bad. Because the old man knew straight away he looked like shit. And when he starts to look like shit, he says the same thing. And sometimes says, oh, you look swell. You know, they don't thought a word. And Chief Machine's character knows that they're lying. He looks like shit. So it's sort of sad in that scene. Again, they let him out. He does escape again with Dustin Hoffman. There's a bit where the iron's really beautiful. And they send these sort of like natives. Sort of reminds me a bit of Cannibal Holocaust in this scene. Because they're running about. One of them tries to get him out, and by accident he runs and he accidentally falls into a trap. That reminds me like what you see in Indiana Jones or all these films where they walk in a trap and a spear stabs them and they die. So I sort of like that little touch on it. He gets hit by darks, falls, and I love the scene. Whether Chief Machine did this stunt, it definitely looks like Chief Machine did his own stunt. There's not CGI like the shit you see nowadays. He actually looks like he did his own stunt. And I'd love if he was here today, Chief Machine, which sad to say, he's no longer with us. I would love to have asked Chief Machine, did you do your own stunt in the scene when he falls off this big waterfall? I'm not making it up. He literally falls off this big dock-off bloody waterfall. He finds these natives. They're not cannibals, but they seem laid back and cool. But they seem like the sort that if you try and rip them off, they'll kill you. Because there's a scene in it where the main chief wants a tattoo, because Papillon has a tattoo of a butterfly on his chest. And this guy uses like this Indian fella. You got the idea he thinks they're stupid, he tries to rip them off. Later on in the film, you don't see it, but you get the aftershots like they killed this guy. You see him hang upside down with his throat slit open, because obviously he tried to rip them off. And Papillon is basically bricking it because he's got to do the tattoo. This is the days when it was all stabbing and the colouring, not like nowadays, you know, because of AIDS and blood box and, you know, stuff like that. You wouldn't get tattoos like that now. I mean, it's more safer to use electric done. But this is the days, okay, it's based on the olden times. So we're stabbing the butterfly. You can literally see poor Papillon sweating, thinking if I fuck this up, I'm going to be like that bloody Indian fella. But you get a love story. He falls in love with this native dude. But then after he does the tattoo, they leave him some pearls. So they're sort of paying for it. These like pearls. And they leave him. There's a bit of music in it. And it kind of reminds me of the music. It kind of reminds me of Blue Lagoon. Remember when I reviewed Blue Lagoon? And I was wondering if the people who did the music to this did the music to Blue Lagoon in 1980. Because it does sound similar. So you get the idea now. This goes to show you that never trust anybody, even someone of religion. Because he goes in hiding and he meets these nuns, right? He meets these nuns and you think they're going to help him out. They only fucking gas him up. They use fucking the Bible. Oh, God will protect you. And they basically knit them pearls off him, gas him up, and they break his ankle so he couldn't escape again. This is a bit where it sort of drags a bit now because he's an old man. He meets Dustin Hoffman. You got the idea that Dustin Hoffman's gone off his head. I don't think they really aged him that much, Dustin Hoffman. They do him like a monkey on the back of his head. But with Chief Machine, they give him white hair. They give him, make him look like he's got bad teeth. And he wants to escape again. He's an old man and they stick him on this other side of an iron now where the old people are. And again, he jumps. It looks again like he's done his own stunts. He jumps. He's on these coconuts. And he's moving it off. He says, you couldn't get me, you bastards. And it ends. And I do love the scene at the end where it shows the real piston. Shows the real piston. It's all rotted. You've got buses. You've got leaves. And you can basically see it rotting away. You get a typical voiceover that Papillon went to live the rest of his life. And obviously he did because you see an original making with the real Papillon. Talking about what it was like in that prison and how he escaped. And it's a good film. It's really, really a good film. I really enjoyed it. You know, they had two damn good trumpeting actors. Dustin Hoffman when he was in his heyday. Chief Machine, may he rest in peace. Whether he was horrible in real life, not for me to judge, but his performance, I'm on about him as an actor. His acting is bloody top notch in this. His acting is brilliant. And why the hell did he not win a bloody award? So the DVD you've got like the original trailer, and you've got original making back in the day. But it's not a bad one. You know, Papillon, it's not a bad one. It's like I say, it's based on a true story. It's based on a book. It's a prison and a state film. And it's basically one of them days when prisons wasn't soft and nice and dewy, and you had human rights sticking up for you. This is definitely, even though it's on an island, and you think, oh, it looks beautiful. And may I also say, the one that plays one of the, I think, the governor in the prison, the actual one, the boss. Well, if you remember Dias, the one that JR didn't get along with, and he was his arch enemy. And he had white hair, and he made JR look like Santa Claus. He's in this, and he plays the actual boss in it. But he actually plays a bit of a scumbag in this and all. So it's a very interesting thing to talk about. But yeah, that's Papillon, back in 1973. It's not a bad film if you like estate prison films. It's a very long film, so you've got to be in the mood to watch it. There's a lot in it. There's a bit where Di has tattoos all over him, and he's helping him out. You might remember, Baden Anyway But You, the one that played the biker, and Anyway But You Dan, the one that played the biker in Anyway But You, which in Eastwood. He's in it with a few tattoos, and it's not like an adventure, but it's more like a prison and estate film. So it's a good hour of your time. That's Papillon. Until then, I'll see you later.